Hello, everyone. My name is Erynn Schroeder. I'm here with Mauricio Moore, and we are here as part of the Send It Back series from Ultiworld. Thanks so much for having us. And we will be rewatching the 2019 Premier Ultimate League semifinal between Revolution from Medellin and Seoul from Atlanta. This coverage is presented by Spin Ultimate. They were kind enough to provide funding for our film last year. I also want to thank VC for the jerseys and Discraft Ultrastar, which is the disc of the Premier Ultimate League.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are here for our second semifinal match at the Professional
Mauricio, can you hear me?
Leagues Championship Weekend. The teams competing.
Okay. I was saying, a little technical problems. I just mute my microphone. I was saying that it was one of the most exciting games I ever coached in my life. Not just because it was one of the first PUL championships, like first time PUL happened. It's because the game was incredible. I will say it's one of the best memories I have in my life. I will have in my life. So thank you very much for rewatching this game, and thank you, Erynn, for being here with me, and obviously thank you to Ultiworld also because of this opportunity to share to the world what Premier Ultimate was and is still.
Yeah, I would agree with Mauricio. This game was phenomenal. Like we had played two other games during the regular season against Revolution. Both of them went Revolution's way. But as you'll see in this game, we gave them a run for their money. I'll tell you what.
I'm actually ready to ask you, what you thinking before this game? Remember, it was a really intense thing. What was in your mind?
Yeah. Some of the stuff that sticks with me, we had to. I don't know. This was the second semifinal, so the one right before us was still on the field while we were warming up. So we had to go and use a separate soccer field that you can kind of see up on the top of the screen right now. And it was a very intense warm up. I am a travel player, so I had driven 5 hours to get to the game, and my hips were really tight, and I was just like finding it hard to get loose. But we had some really, really good locker room conversations. I remember talks from Maddie and from Shani that just like really brought us together as a team and really pumped me up to play.
Wow. Yeah, I can tell that, and the game, as you can see, it was pretty, let's say, fast. That was one of the first things that I remember in all of our games. The 3 times we played, it was super fast. I remember Medellin, it was like super fast game. There was a lot of points right away. Same thing happened when we went to Atlanta, and also like first time and then to the finals, that was the same thing. I think it was a really athletic and speed, and it pushed us to to do our best in every single point. And that was the first quarter. It was something like that, point by point, super fast, really accurate. So it was fantastic.
I agree. I would say every time we play you guys, anytime we play Ultimate, we try to bring our A game, but playing against Revolution is really something to look forward to just because of all the athleticism and the speed. It's a slightly different play style, so it really tests us on both offense and defense.
Yeah. Actually, I watching this game, and I remember one of the main challenge we had in this game was to go across. We see each other different times in the first part of a tournament, and it was fun because you start to learn a little bit about your opponent, and it was really fun because I was watching the game you played before this game, and you had a different strategy, and it was a really totally change in everything. Substitutions, everything was changed. How's that? I mean, I'm not expecting you to tell me your secrets, but it would be really cool to know what was that. I mean, what happened? I mean, you made a lot of change, and I think it works pretty good, by the way.
to know
Yeah,
you may
thank
not
you.
come down
And
to
I
a
can't
level like that.
take any of the
So
credit for that, but our coaches did a
great
really good
question.
job of testing out different things
Where
against
would you
different
challenge
teams.
them?
And as we progressed through the season, we came to a strategy of we had a roster limit for each game of 21 players. So we just put everybody on a line and we just had three lines and we
Just
rotated
talking
them.
about it,
So
it's a
instead of
great
having
place
an O
tonight.
and a D line,
Hearing
we
her
really just rotated
everything is
through.
back for her
I
team
think one of the things we struggled with,
after that
especially
last
early in
rest
the
of
season, was
offensively, and
just
you
how
can
long
see
these
how
games are
Revolution
because
Mhm.
capitalizes on the
I
second
don't even
chance.
know how to like compare it calorie wise to a tournament day, but it is so exhausting. It's just like one game that's much longer than we're used to. So I think road through those three lines was better for legs and a couple of
Mhm.
games to practice in those lines to develop chemistry and things like that. So I think that definitely helped, and we
And
definitely
just
put that
an
to use in this
exceptional
game.
shot to Yina
Yeah.
Cartagena
Oh,
there.
that's
So that's two
that's
times now that
fantastic.
we
Yeah.
see her
I will say that was one
racing
of a
from
challenge
behind the
for
disc space
our team
to
also.
get downfield.
A lot of
Great
driving, a
testing,
lot of
following up.
I remember one of the games
Just
we played
great
early in the
timing,
season.
great
Actually, it was the
flow
Atlanta one.
from this
Remember, we
Medellin
were
team.
playing the game, and there was a cut in the lights. Then we start when we finished really late,
And would you say
and then
that
next
as
day
a
we wake up at 5
coaching
a.m. and drive
correlation with head coach
like
Mauricio
5 or
Moore's
6 hours,
approach to
and we
really
just arrived
balancing his
to the
players
parking
in terms of
lot,
how they develop? I know most
and then
folks
when
get
the
a
other team
good
already warm up.
base in
So
terms of
like, oh
how to
god,
handle
people was
lead
really
at that
tired,
point,
and
but it
we
seems like he
and then
really wants
started
his
rain,
players
by
to
the way.
be
so
multifaceted,
so
Oh
that's kind
man.
of a
very
challenge that
dynamic,
really,
and tools
test a
downfield.
lot of your players. So that's the good thing in the professional league. Every single player, uh, you know, they're professional, so they work pretty hard. They're ready to play, no matter if it's cold, if it's tiring, if it's long, because as you said, most of the games are really, long, but not just a lot of a run because it is. It's also, it takes time. Your mental strength has to be, you need to be really focused because if it's not, I mean, you're going to break down. You're going to break in the middle of a game.
Definitely not making that
So
Yeah.
game
yeah, that was
easy for the pro
really
shell, but
challenging.
Yeah. I remember that when you made kind of your national tour, kind of going to different cities and things, you also had a somewhat reduced roster. I forget how many people you had, but it was definitely not like the full 21 that you were allowed. So, what kind of things would you do to
uncharacteristic to
prepare
hear
and like make sure everybody was
from
ready to
Revolution
play?
players. Normally,
Wow,
they're
that's
on the same
actually a
page.
really good question. Because of a Premier Ultimate League concept, uh, and what I mean, the concept means you want to have a professional team. We build a mentality called less more. You know, um, so having a smaller roster, let's say 18 players, which is the number you're looking for, or 16 players, 17
Excellent,
players.
excellent
If you
execution
hire a really high
by
skilled player,
Lamsol to
you know,
capitalize
will
on a
prepare,
very important break
that's going to be
opportunity. Those are definitely going to
somehow it's going to
come
be
few and
more
far between,
helpful.
I feel, from
Uh,
this Revolution
just
team.
having
And
a
so taking advantage
comparison
of
is
those is definitely
war
going to
games.
be a game
We
changer
went
for
to
us.
war games with 14 players.
Speaking of New York Times, we have an Ultimate
And it
article.
works. And after war games, people can play more
Find an
games.
Ultimate article.
What I'm saying is, if they prepare themselves strongly, then you're gonna have more chemistry, and you can, set up different things. And somehow it's a challenge, It's not just like, okay, I'm just gonna cut the roster. It's not gonna work. You need to set up a base on it. But it's part of the mentality we build on Revolution Professional, and we did a lot of, work to make it happen. Building those mental clues
So far,
during
it's
the season,
Cartagena 3,
how to
Revolution
have
3.
that kind of a roster, so coach don't have
Imagine this
to
replay
think
here.
too much in subs. You know, a coach has to
Revolution just
think
moving the
about
disc up
subs
very
maybe
smoothly.
30 or
Great
40%
job
of the
of
time
spotting
when we're coaching. You
on
have to
that
be
last
thinking, who's
miscue.
next?
Player
Who are
Chastain,
going to
no
put out?
stranger
But
to
if
the
you have
sport herself
16
in
players, you don't have
regards
to think about
to
it. I mean, this is going to
phenomenal
be a kind of a
throws.
rotation, and
That
every
backhand
player is
lob,
really good.
legendary
So
in
it's kind
sport.
of a challenging, but that's one of our secrets right now, and I think it's working. I mean, there's a lot of things to think about and fix, but it's a really good
We saw in the
mental, like
last
a new
semifinal game
mental
the
path that we're
importance
building.
of deep
Right. And to me, it seems like this Revolution team just has so much chemistry. And I know this club has been around for a long time, and Revolution is not just a professional team, it's a club team, and you also have some youth involvement too. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question. Uh, because I started playing Ultimate like 2003, that was that, and I create Revolution in 2004, which means I create the club when I when neither know how to throw a forehand. I'm just like learning how to throw a forehand, and I just build a team, and it's fun because there's people who can tell when I create when I had the idea with one of our friends, uh, one of the first girls who played in Revolution. Right from the beginning, I said, okay, I want to make a team and become a world champion. People started laughing. They were just it was impossible. Not just having a world champion women's team, that was not even thinkable. But it was my dream from the beginning, and I started working. So it's 16 years right now, building the concept of being professional, and the goal was because there were, the way, that idea was in my head because we just, female Ultimate was really low in Colombia. There were like 2 or 3 teams when I started to play Ultimate, and I was thinking how to grow up women's Ultimate in Colombia. And I realized that the best way is to have the best team in the world. If I have the best team in the world, then there's going to be a lot of girls around. More than doing a lot of different teams and things like that. It's just like build you the best team ever, and then that's going to create an environment around. And somehow it's happening, and it was really fun because this has been a path. And I remember I choose the date. I say we're going to be champions in 2014 in the world, and we beat Japan in the first round in the first game, and then we lost in quarterfinals. And I learned a lot about it and how is this path, which is more than just goals and medals. It's about what we're doing in ourselves, each player. So that's the best thing that we're. The best memory I can say about being in Ultimate, coaching women during this time, it's how we use this to improve our lives, not just like the game and having victories and trophies. Well, that's gonna happen. This, they're gonna be in somewhere in the house. But memories, that's really important for us.
Okay. All right, so we're like far into the first quarter and we haven't talked about the game yet. I've never tried my hand at color commentary, but I will try. I'm gonna say who's holding the disc. Right now it's Kate Travellini. That one is me. And that's Akina Young from Revolution. It's really enjoyable just playing against anybody from Revolution. Everybody's just so spirited. But Akina was a player that I don't having played with or against before, but I met her during the game, and then we hung out at the Apple, and she's just like a super cool person. She's one of a few on this roster who came in from an American team, right?
Yeah. There's a few of the girls who are coming from America since 2012. We have been including people in our rosters, which is great. Having that kind of different styles and people inside. Actually right now I remember this point, which is part of a game is pretty close. You break us first once, and we're really tight in terms of trying to recover and keep the game close. And as you can see during the game, we start to move a really we try to start to move a really more fast, pass and go, and that you can see it in this point exactly that the players are just touching and running, and one of our ideas was we knew that the game is going to will be long, and we were trying to use more our athleticism in terms of like a lot of running, and then trying to get more, give you some, run to, and then try to use it more for next quarter. And then you can see every single pass, players are passing and running, passing and running. So that gives a lot of space, but also it makes harder the. So that goal is pretty, clear what we were trying to do in that part of a quarter.
Yes, definitely. And I know part of Soul's strategy was to basically stop the deep looks. You have some really good deep receivers on your team, so that's another thing that might have changed throughout the season or for this game is just like make them play small ball. And your team's very good at that too, but at least there's more chances for a turnover than if you just send it deep.
It is true, yeah. And actually, you were doing also these guarding under, so that pops a little bit our our runs because every time one player was trying to go, it has to go through the other player, so it takes some couple times. And then we were trying to do some junky thing because we knew you would be doing that actually.
Doing that, yeah.
Exactly, because you have those. I mean, you were in the field and you were doing a great job running. So you had a lot of fast players, and yeah, we have Elisa, which is fantastic, but it was hard to guard in all the fast players you had. So we were trying to junk a little bit. I mean, Maddie did a really good job. She was really good in this game, by the way. Well, actually, all the players.
Oh, yes.
I'm actually was ready to ask, what was the top player for you in this game? From your team.
It's kind of hard to pick just one, I guess, but Kate Travellini always does a great job, and I was talking about the line. She was on my line, and it's always really fun to play with her. She had some really good Ds, and she's always very calm with the disc and makes very good decisions. So I'm going to give it to her. How about for your team? Who would you say?
Well, I'm actually one of the players who played really fantastic in this game was Aleja, which she had the disc right now. She was doing a really good job, and the funny thing was no one noticed. She just like during the season in one of the games she turned the meniscus, and she was playing with a turn on the meniscus, and actually she didn't play the rest of the final because of that. And she did a really good job, and most of the people said like, "Hey, you play fantastic," whatever, and I was really surprised she was doing that job in that game. And Elisa also did a fantastic job. I mean, well, it's actually kind of a roles, in our team. So Gina had a really predominant job.
Yes.
Also, Elisa have a really fantastic. So they both and plus Aleja are a really good triangle we had in this game for O and D, both sides of a coin.
For those who don't know, Travellini is the one who just scored and was doing that eat out of disc. That's her signature spike.
Yeah, she played fantastic. I would say also Erynn was playing. I mean, you were playing fantastic. Not just this game, also the other games on the season. And particularly in this game, I will say there were not any other player who guard Elisa better than what you did in this game. I mean, usually in all of the games we had a lot of flexibility with her. I mean, we easily had some of the space with them, but this game was really. I mean, you did a really good job stopping her. So I think that there was another really good point on your D this game.
Thank you, Mauricio. That means a lot. Okay, I see a question from Leah. She's asking how this game ranks in all the games I've played in. I would say it's up there, challenged maybe only by some of the other games against international teams. I've played at Junior Worlds twice, and we lost the championship both times. The first time to Colombia. So when you're talking about in 2014, you didn't win. You'd already won in 2012. So, and then also against Japan in 2015. But this one just, I guess, felt different just because I was with the Seoul for a little longer than usually, like the week-long Worlds tournament, and it was just such a close game that, and now that I've watched it a few times too, it's pretty much burned in my memory. But I've done that with the other championships we've lost as well. I wanted to mention that I guess this point is already long gone, but it took us, I think, 10 points before there were any calls in this game. I think Revolution does a really good job of playing clean and spirited ultimate. We did see a foul in that last point, which I think, I forget how that one ended up. I think it ended up being a turnover. But both teams, I think, do a good job of playing by the rules, and then also, I don't know if it has anything to do with the language barrier, but if there's minor infractions, it seems like we're willing to just kind of roll with it. Mauricio, would you agree?
Not much more you can ask for from a receiver.
Or is he frozen right now?
And this is, again,
okay, I guess I'll keep talking then. Okay. That's a great grab by Manuela. Marie Perivier was there almost with the D, but she did a really good job of not making that a dangerous play, so I commend her on that. And I want to mention Mosquera's pulls all game. You can see them just sailing into the end zone every time, which is very impressive because the PUL fields, Premier Ultimate League rules dictate that the field is actually 80 yards long instead of the 70 that we play with in club. So that is a pretty far throw. Nice soccer ball on the field. Love to see that. And here goes Yost. Oh, yeah. Man, she has the best bids. Are you back, Mauricio?
Yeah, I'm back. I was thinking some coffee. Nah, I'm just kidding. You know. Little internet issue, but okay. What happened? I was went for a coffee and now we're 8:06. That's weird.
I know, it's going so fast. It is still quarter one though, so we've got some game left. It looks like there's only 1 minute left in the first quarter. I don't know if we've mentioned yet the timing rules for the Premier Ultimate League. So there's 4 quarters, each of them are 12 minutes long. And at the end of quarter 1, 2, and 3, instead of there being a buzzer beater, the time will just run out, and whichever team is holding the disc gets to continue possession until they score or it turns over, and then the quarter's over. I think that's a really smart rule. That's much safer for players who are playing in a professional league. For quarter 4, there is a buzzer beater, but that really only matters if it's coming down to, a 1-point universe point situation. So I think it's a lot safer.
In this game, it matters. You remember? We're actually really close to that. I mean, you need to wait until the end, by the way, if you want to see that. That was a really challenging rule.
Yeah, there is a buzzer beater in this game, so you guys lucked out. Whew. That was close. That was close. Yeah, that was
another thing
Lizzie
really
Jones trying to make the catch.
Exactly.
And Sammy bidding for it. What were you saying?
Yeah, I was saying just you had to be really aware of a clock, and in terms of when you try to do that, that try. If you wait too long, then you're gonna miss the opportunity, and you score before, then you're gonna give the other team the opportunity to score. Like this now,
right.
We have a position. I mean, the time's gone. Oh, I was just ready to explain that. The time's gone, and then we have the chance to score. no matter how long we take, but we turn it over, and that's it.
As we're seeing very
Yep.
That was,
clearly
yeah.
strong offensive
So,
showcase from both
as Soul Huddles here, you can see that some players are in white jerseys. This past year, 2019 especially, was kind of tough. Before every game, we would announce the rosters of 21 people, but we had 35 people on the team. And so waiting for that announcement was always kind of a tense moment. But I think our entire roster did a really great job of supporting, playing when they got called up, and you can see them just rushing the field every time. Some of our players also were injured for this game. I want to call out Jinmi Matsunaga, who had torn her ACL. I know Evelina Pierce also had a concussion. Leah Sinagini, who is playing, was dealing with a hamstring issue, so for most of the second half, she was not able to play, which then we had to mix up our rotation, of course. So,
Mhm.
but I want to commend all of my teammates for really stepping up.
throughout the game
Yes.
this lead that they have, if anything, maybe pull further away.
And somehow that's something really challenging in the PUL and all the professional women's league is that you have a roster and then you have a big main roster and then you're switching in different games the players you're gonna use in that game. So somehow you need to be figuring out before the game how you're gonna do with the matches. You know, who's gonna play, who's not playing, because sometimes you're expecting one of the players in, but then things change, which is really smart.
Right. Did you set any matchups for this game?
Well, actually, actually, uh, we learn about it during the whole season, and then we decide to not match up players. I will say the players we were matching. I mean, our matches were ourselves. You know, we're trying to do more self scouting than another like the other team scouting. It's more unpredictable when I mean you have 30 players, then there's going to be 25 or something, and then you need to figure out if they're going to play, what kind of a line. There's a lot of time you need to spend to figure out in the scouting. And this game particularly, we say like, well, we know them, but we need to know more about ourselves. We need to focus a little bit more on ourselves. So let's try to what they will be scouting us. That was the way we did the scouting, like what they should be doing. So they know Elisa, for example, they know she's gonna run. They're gonna force her to go in and never goes back and go deep. Okay, let's do something about it. Like focus on that kind of scouting. And you did a really good job. I mean, and you were unpredictable in so many ways during the game. So we had to be adjusting ourselves more than trying to adjust what you were doing, basically.
I want to mention, I think it happened really quickly just because of how the video is edited, but in that point, there was a timeout. And in the Premier Ultimate League, you can actually switch the whole 7 people out. And when it's tapped back in, you get your 10 seconds. You start back at 0 for the stall count. So that is definitely different than any Ultimate I've played. And I think both teams use it pretty well in this game. We have those 3 lines which all play offense and defense, but one of them, like the one that I'm on, tended to play a lot of defense, and then the one that they just subbed on with Paula and India and Mo as the handlers, that was a pretty offensively minded 7. So we subbed them in during the point, which is kind of new to people who have only played Club Ultimate.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's also a lot of a strategy because you switch your team, but then the other team is switching players. So it's more like what I'm going to do in this switch in terms of, I mean, you cannot be thinking in the other team. Like, okay, I'm going to switch this player to stop that player, and then it's switch. That's fantastic. I was saying before, Shini, which is the girl who just threw the disc, she was doing also a fantastic job in this game. She was doing a lot of run. She was doing a great D on Elisa during this game. It was fantastic. Well, actually, she got a D on it, but she was doing a fantastic work in this game. I would say she was.
I agree. Yeah, it is so fun to watch that matchup, Shani and Elisa. They're just both so speedy.
Yeah.
And oh man, I don't think it was this game, but um, there was one where Shani got like she just jumped so high and then she celebrates.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was it was
Yeah.
in the second game. I think.
hmm Yeah, and several players from Revolution and from Seoul played in the Color of Ultimate game as well. Were you able to watch that
Yeah,
game?
yeah, exactly. That was a beautiful game. I was Jimena, which is there, right there, and with the 57, the one who's trying to cut right there. So Jimena Montaña was there in a color game. Also Elisa and Gina and Manuela. They were playing in 2-2 in different teams, and that was a really tight game, by the way. I was really excited. I watched the full
Yes, if
game,
you're
and
looking
I
for
was
another game
actually
to watch.
yeah, definitely. I'm actually was testing with her when you had the lighting delay, and I was testing with Manuela about like, hey, how's the game? How you feel? That was, and they were having a lot of fun. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I got to be there in person to watch that game, and I have to say that might be the most fantastic game of Ultimate I've ever seen. I'm really glad that it's available on YouTube. So for any of you out there who haven't seen it, just search Color of Ultimate Atlanta. It's fantastic.
A prime opportunity to break.
All right, it's already 10-8. We're about halfway through quarter two. Looks like Mauricio's frozen again. Here goes Manuela, bidding for the disc. That was nicely placed. I didn't catch you through it.
I was just going to say that's certainly not something.
We have Leah going to pick up the disc.
Fans of the Revolution are a stranger to seeing the Cardenas sisters connect with each other downfield.
Nice. She throws it almost full field to Robin Fennig. Continuing it on to, it looks like Katie Francho. Nice. That was a pretty toss from Leah.
Yeah, okay, at this part of the game, we were feeling like, something's going bad, because it was score by score, but then 3 points ahead, like it's a kind of a leak.
Can we just take a moment and appreciate that Seoul was up by 3 points on Revolution? I think this happens one other time in the game, and I just it still blows my mind.
You were playing fantastic. We did a stupid mistakes. We just had some draws, and it was. But you were super. You were doing a really good OD work. Few mistakes, but not something really, big. And I was actually ready to say both things were really, really good. Really accurate. This is not. I mean, those games on the Premier Ultimate League. I'm not just talking about this game. Most of the game, a lot of the games were really accurate, not turnovers, like few turnovers. And whoever made a turnover had to, figure it out. And that was one of our troubles in these games, that we make some turnovers, some drops, and it was like, it's gonna come back, and it didn't happen. We had to fight for every single break we made. And yeah, it was fantastic sensation, like being there, but second quarter, we're 11-9.
Yeah,
we're just in the second quarter. It's a weird feeling.
Definitely. I don't know if I would say that we played necessarily super conservatively, but I think our chemistry by this point in the season was just really working, and there were of course times when we would send it deep, and sometimes connect, sometimes not, but a lot of times it was unless there's some kind of zone or junk, it would only take 4 or 5 passes to score. And your team is also very good at that.
Yes, I will say one of the big challenge we had in this game, I will say that was it pushed ourselves in a mental way than more than any other game. Because playing these super long games, point by point, being down, it's not normal. Um, not not even like not in the season of Revolution. So being down by one, by two during the whole game, but it's still like strong in our brains also, and happy. It's a really tough challenge in the season. Yeah, and it was a fantastic semifinal for the crowd.
Oh yeah. I mean, both semifinals were. They both went to double game point. I think they both went to double overtime.
Yeah,
And
yeah, both were
yeah,
overtime and double game point.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that this game, the original stream is also on YouTube, and Hannah Leathers and Gabe Bideau are commentating. So I would recommend watching it again. I mean, that one takes a little longer because they haven't edited out all of the stuff, but they do a really good job of a little bit more of the color commentary and also explaining some of the things the PUL stands for.
Yeah. Yeah, at some point we start to see this thing that is happening right now. I mean, trying to explain to spectators that then Soul started stop like really far deep. Yeah, like okay, just do your job, and then we're gonna wait a little bit more deep. To try to stop our plays because time start to push yourself. I mean, when you're getting to the third quarter. I mean, we're in the second quarter, but you sort of feel that pressure. So then we start to see a lot of do your job. We're gonna wait for you back here, and it makes our team make some mistakes like in this point.
Fantastic to see, as you mentioned before, a professional league and one of the only ones that you've been able to find that has that stance or that mission or goal within their mission.
Manuela.
A lot of people under that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I matched up on Manuela a lot this game, and she's always a really fun matchup. Very challenging. She's so squirrely. She can just turn on the dime.
Uh-huh. And she's really explosive, and when they both connect, the both twins, Manuela and Valeria, it's a really explosive connection. It's really fantastic. It's really fun to see them play. Or in Revolution or national team, they also are it's really fun to watch when they both are playing. What was that? I think it was big. Oh, it was a timeout.
There's a timeout, yep. Yeah, so I think this is one of the times when the D line's out there and they switch in the O line.
Yeah, we also switch. I think we switch at least the half of the players, and maybe all the players in that point. We usually, in every single timeout, we usually change everyone.
How do you call your lines? Do you say people's names out every time?
Well, actually, as we don't have a lot of players, they have a kind of a setup in the rotation system. So it's more like a rotation thing. It's kind of a complicated because there's a kind of priority if it's an O or D line for some of the players, particularly. So if it's an O point, there's players that always go in, and if it's D line, there's some other players that always go in, and then the other ones are rotating inside of an O or D line. It's more like that. Trying to use the chemistry of some of the players and try to maintain a really good handling stoppage. We need to make sure that we have a really good handler defenders. So we don't want to just rotate and maybe lose that thing because the line you're sending is not with, maybe just because of a rotation is not someone who can just take care of our handlers, which is, the most important thing in the at the beginning of a game. If we can stop more the handler motion, that's going to give us a little more space in the downfield. So that was part of our clue for these kind of games. And then because if you see, I go through the field and say quick things, but it's not calling lines basically. And actually the PUL time is really short. So you don't have lot of time to make
and also
that
being
kind of a thing. You have to preset lines at some point.
as we were just talking about ways
Okay.
to
So
focus.
the way you're talking about it, it's almost like they manage the lines themselves. Is that true, or are you still calling out some names?
No, I mean they all mostly they do it. I mean I sometimes I just do some adjustments. I just call one or two players and they just fill in the rest. You know, they actually come all they come and whoever is haven't played before get into the field, and then I just or maybe just take two persons off. It's easier, you know, like or sometimes just like call two players and then you just fill it. It's kind of a chemistry also. It's hard to explain if you try to improve it because it's kind of a chemistry thing in Revolution because they coach themselves and subs a lot of times during tournaments because I'm playing, so they just do the thing and they learn about how to do it.
Very interesting defensive choice here.
Okay, there's 1 minute 45 seconds to it
Slow down some of that quick pace
To halftime.
to game. Yeah, it's weird because you see, oh, it's 1 minute, and then it's too long. You know, it takes sometimes takes hours. You know, it's like basketball, never ends.
Right, because the clock stops between points, and it doesn't start again until not just the pull goes up, but it's until the pull is fielded. So as soon as the player picks it up or catches it, I think that might be changing in the PUL rules
Mm-hmm.
to be when the pull is released. But that's definitely like the score usually matters a lot in Ultimate for halftime and for game caps and things. You usually play to 13 or 15 or 17, and in this sort of play, it matters not at all.
Yeah, actually here it's just you need to score, and then last possession you need to be careful when it's going to happen. I mean, if you have a possession before 20 seconds or 10 seconds, you don't want to score right away. You just prefer to hold it a little bit and then finish until the time's up and then score. Well, it will depend because we applied that in the last quarters and it didn't work for us right away. But it's it's a different. Wow, that was a fantastic play from Maria Paula Santos.
Oh, yes. She baited it
Yeah,
perfectly.
yeah.
And rewarded
I
right
remember.
away. Nice.
Yeah, I was just watching the question or about the Elisa's pool. She is insane. I just want to give you an story when she started pool. It was in 2012. She started pool for the team. She used to be an offense player. She was really good. She was fast, and I remember at Worlds 2012 in Japan. What was that? 12? Yeah, that was 12 in Japan. And uh, she just make a pool, and we just freak out. It's like, how you do that? I mean, she came to me. It's like, hey, can you teach me how to pull? I was like, okay, you put your body like this, you hold it like this, and then you just learn. I try to explain the whole technique. So like, okay, do you mean like this? Like 60 meters, 20 meters pull. It's like, oh god, just please tell everyone that I'll teach you everything you know about pool. Okay, that's 40 seconds. Time out. That was really fun, and now I will say she's the best puller in women's ultimate ever. It's just
Oof,
so good
yeah.
at pool.
I don't know if I've seen better. I think. Do you remember it being windy at all?
Not in the not in oh not in this game at all, but yeah, in other different games. Rally was super windy. Actually, maybe all of the other games were windy or super cold or rainy, but not this game. This was really fantastic, and actually same as Medellin when we played first time. It was really comfy. I mean, it was not windy at all. Okay, now here's what it happens. Like 7 seconds, you don't want to score right there because if you score right there, then the other team is going to have a possession. So you try to hold it under the time done like this, and then you have to score. You cannot turn it over. Definitely. So that's the way of the strategy on that kind of a measure the clock thing works. And for us, it was it's 13. It was really important for us to score because if we score before, then it was going to be 13-13, but then you're going to have a possession. But if we score after the clock's gone, then and we tied, and we did. Uh, Now you don't have another chance to. I mean, in this quarter, more than if you have a possession for the next quarter.
Hmm.
It's really tricky. Now, yeah.
And like, yeah, this is the same quarter where we were just up by 3, but you just rattle off breaks at the end of the second quarter there to bring it back.
Yeah. Well, actually, if you see it in a perspective, even if we have this breaks back and forth, you don't feel it was like you don't feel those breaks were really push. You mean? I mean, it was not like it was like kind of a normal part of a game. It was like fluid. There was a mistake, break, and that happened. So you don't even notice. And that happened to me during the game. I was like, and then I was watching the scores, like, oh god, we're down by 2, and I was watching again, like, oh, no, we tied. It was like kind of surprising me how smooth it was the game. It was a really fantastic game.
Yeah, I definitely when I'm playing, I end up. I think I prefer not knowing the score, but I remember vividly in this game. I'm not sure if it was in quarter 2 or maybe in quarter 3, but just like looking at the scoreboard and just like amazed that we are here and that we're playing against Revolution and that we're actually staying with them or sometimes ahead. I was just like, how am I not soaking in this moment more? But it's like, I don't know. It's great to be able to rewatch the film, but right after the game, like if you asked me about it, I would like not have that many memories about it. I think um, something about like being in flow state as an athlete or just being so in the zone that like you probably remember little things, but a lot of the game you just kind of black it out.
It's true. I mean, actually, I need to say that I don't used to see the game. I don't used to see games after we played it, even if it's recorded. Not even in Worlds. I just like try to keep everything in my memory. And this game I saw couple plays after because it was like I don't even. It was like unbelievable. I remember one of the people was asking why this was so amazing, and the reason why it's because it was um, usually when you're playing in a tournament or a game, uh, you felt when it's, you feel the game is yours or you lost it, and then, you have that, let's say, mountains during the game. You go up and down, and then but this game was like, all the time was like super intense. Like every single point was like the first point ever, and so that feeling was unbelievable. Not even, yeah, comparable. We played that, and I was saying like, okay, now we're 14 to 17. Now we're gonna get some points ahead, and it didn't happen. Okay, now we're 18, whatever. It didn't happen. Still super close. Every single point and every single play was, tied, fast, and as you say, super spirit. That was fantastic. Okay, so talking about players and strategy a little bit, we started to stop our junkie thing and we try to go more, matchups, but it didn't work. To be honest, you were going out of that pretty fast. At some point we said, well, we were trying to do some junkie thing, and now we're gonna push them to use more chemistry to see what happened. Having that switch, but you did it great. Your chemistry works. So
yeah, the chemistry was there, I guess.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, I love especially in that point. There's like 3 inside-out backhands in a row. I guess maybe I don't know if you switched the force from forehand to backhand, and we were just still cutting to the forehand side.
Yeah, actually, we were trying. Yeah, and then you were trying to come more junky, as you can see right now. And we
nice
as I
D
said,
by Maddie Fry.
Done D. And as I say, every single little mistake we made, it gives a break. That's something that I like of this game. It was like turnover, okay, that's a break. So you cannot, and that was a lot of attack we had. That's like you cannot just give a turnover. If you give a turnover, okay, you have a break. You need to keep it.
Yep. And Seoul is up now, 15-14. Got the lead back.
Yeah, it's important to notice that this is 15-14, which is usually, the final score on a game, in a normal ultimate game, and it's 15-14, and we are not even in a half of the third quarter. So that way you can imagine how how intense you felt it. So every single point is like more like pushing yourself to do a better job.
Yes,
this
I would
part of the
agree with
game
that,
shows.
and I think. Oh, go for it.
Say what you say.
I would say at this point in the game, I was definitely feeling it in my legs. I remember this quarter, and having watched it again too, being very frustrated. I think there's 2 points in a row when I get scored on, and you can see there body control issues. I'm calling my own foul, which is good, but I should not be running into people. I'm pretty sure I get scored on in this point, and the last point I was on, I got scored on by Manuela, who just made a fantastic cut. But I think I was definitely starting to feel the fatigue. But I'm proud to say I don't think my teammates did, because we continued playing well and staying close or ahead for pretty much the entire quarter. Yep, there I go, getting scored on. Nice, nice. But there's a thing coming up in this quarter that really pumps me up again, and then I remember how to play Ultimate, so that's good.
I'm actually remember of this point that maybe if you remember the point, you see Elisa coming to the handler motion all the time, coming back to the handlers. Yeah, forced by the way you were guarding her, like really back on the deep. So she was coming and coming and coming, and it started not to kill us, but it started to make harder, that we had to work more in our hand, because when she came in and received, by the way, that was fantastic, but then there were more, that our handler zone were more occupied. So that was a really good strategy options you made, and I think it helps a lot, and it helps a lot in the game to you, to not to have Lisa as a threat in a deep cut.
Mm.
And now we got a chance, to put it out again.
Yep, here comes your break chance.
I'm actually, as I'm saying, I just forgot a lot of the plays in the game, just because I just don't try to see it again and try to remember as it was. But then I said, it's like, oh, I remember this. I remember what I was thinking in that moment, for example.
What do you think was the point in the game when you were the most high emotion, whether it was positive or negative, other than the very end of the game?
yeah. Actually, it was the very end of the game. Well, I would say emotion. I'm actually need to tell you this secret. I'm so emotional all the time. No matter what time, what point, I'm all the time so trying to explode inside. What I'm saying is that's one of the challenge. Most of the players, good job, Elisa. Most of the players think, most of the people think that it's more about what the team does, in a game, but it's really important what you do as a coach also. It's not, I mean, what I'm want to try to say is I'm also playing, it's really important what's my behavior, how I control my feelings, because at some point whatever I said can change the way of a game, definitely. So I'm super emotional. I'm all the time thinking, all the time thinking what should it be done. So I need to control myself all the time. Really, and I was out of control. But actually, I would say I was really quiet, at that part. Even how tough it was. That was a fantastic round for Maddie Fry, making that score. She plays fantastic. She plays a couple of times with Revolution, and she was fantastic every single time. She's fantastic every single time she played with us, and oh, that was pretty close. Um, I remember
Yeah.
that pass. It's like, oh, that was too far. And it's like, oh no, it was actually
No, it's just Maddie.
Maddie,
She's
and it was
got
a
it.
perfect putt. Yeah, she did a really good layout also in the game, so it was fantastic. Okay, there you again. What's your
Yep, here comes.
what you prefer to guard, handlers or cutters?
That's a good question. I bounce between a lot of things in Ultimate, like O and D, and who I like to guard. Um, I would say right now my preference is to guard like an initiating cutter and just like try to absorb the first cut and kind of throw off the play. Um, but guarding handlers, I think guarding handlers is really fun, but I need practice with it. Like if I'm going to guard handlers, I need to like do it in practice before I do it in games. Otherwise, I get beat once and then I just get really in my head about it because it's so important to like stick close and not let them go up line, but then like stick tight on the guarding me around, you know? So I think it's, I mean, guarding people downfield is also hard, but I guess that's my preference right now. I do like in zone though to probably be a part of the cup or maybe even marking in the cup. So
Okay.
is that what you
Okay.
expected?
No, no, I mean, actually, I think you're doing a really good job guarding cutters. I agree with you. Like initiated cutters. That's fantastic, and it's challenging. You know, it's a you need to spend a lot of energy trying to stop the first cut. But if you do it, then you really have that's half of a point in terms of D. You know, stopping the first cut. Because you're stopping the first play, you're stopping what the team was ready to do, so it makes the other team to think a little bit more. Now we're up by one. As I said, 17-16. At that point, you start to think, oh, this is going to be long, still 6 minutes, 25 seconds.
And
to
still
the end
another
of a
quarter to go. Yeah.
it's incredible.
Big put from Robin to
Yeah.
Marissa Hicks.
That's one of
Yes.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's a perfect measure on the throw. That's one of the plays that we used to say, okay, at least it's gonna get it. But it was perfect putt, really back there, no floaty, and she made her fastest. She made as fast as she can. You say like, okay, she can make it, but no, it's just like perfect putt right there. That's fantastic. Fantastic throw.
Yeah. She did a great job catching up, though. She was right there.
I'm not familiar with the Wisconsin region.
Ooh, I think this is the one. The last time I was on, I again got scored on. I think that's 3 in a row. But this time, Maddie Fry is going to get me there.
Okay, I see it.
Do you remember what happens?
Yeah. I don't want to spoil it. I don't know if it's this
So
place. Maybe yes.
It seems like Maddie's line's playing a lot of this kind of junky, zony cup.
Uh-huh.
And last time, Maddie got a D in the cup.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, you're doing a pretty good job working it around. Do you have 4 handlers back?
Yeah, we do have a 4-handler Zono, but we're not doing exactly what we had to do in this point. But usually, yeah, because of when we have that, then we have this pass. Because we have 3 players who force the cup to go that way, then we open really wide that space on the other side. So we have 2 handlers in the middle and 2 handlers wide open. So that gave us a lot of space to do the turn around.
Ooh. That was a good play. A pass to Claire Chastain, but Robin Finney gets there. Caroline Taylor was also close.
And actually, Manuela throwing to Claire was one of a super. I mean, every time Manuela saw Claire, that was a throw for sure. She was like, Molly Brown thinking, and she cannot see Claire going there. She will definitely right away throw it in. They do a lot of good chemistry thing. Okay, here we go. Oh man,
There she is.
that's fantastic.
Play of the game right there.
Yeah, that was a play of the game, definitely.
Man, so exciting.
That was one of the it's like, oh, they turn it over. Oh no, 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 it's Maddie.
There she goes again.
Oh,
Even
God.
Manu can't stop it. Wow.
Yeah, remember there's another view of that play, and it's more backwards, and it's fantastic. The way she just laid out, that was insane. That was insane catch.
Yes. Yeah, and I know. Yeah, I don't know if you're referencing the photos from Ulti Photos. Maybe they were there as photographers for the
Yeah.
game, and they have a really fantastic view of her
Yeah.
layout.
More importantly, how important it is for this Seoul offense to work its way down the field like that.
It's funny to remember too, because they had, the commentators for the video feed, which you just saw on screen, but then there was also a couple people commentating just over a loudspeaker for the crowd.
Yeah, I remember.
And I'm pretty sure they announced it right there as that was the play of the game, even though we still have, a quarter and a half to go.
Yeah, that was fantastic. But it was, yeah. I would say maybe even the play of a tournament. I don't remember. I mean, that was sick. That was
Yeah.
cool.
Was this the closest game Revo had all season?
Yeah, definitely. 100%. I would say, yeah, that was the closest ever. And then it was, up and down by one or two every time, which is not. I mean, it was. I would say because of different other issues, we got not really good beginnings in other games. For example, rally, we started losing by 4 or 5. As I told you, we just get into the parking lot, just eat, and 15 minutes before the game, and no warm up, and so like it takes like 5 or 6 points a game, but I would say that like out of that, then we recover and get some points ahead. But in this game, it was like, okay, now we're gonna have something different, and then 19-17 losing. We were up, we were 17-16 or something, and now like 19-17. It's like, what's going on? This is not. When are we gonna break the issue? And I think it was because you still pretty solid in your game, and we just have this little just have this little.
Oof. Yeah, there's some contact on that one.
Yeah, as I tell, for example, in the zone, that's another thing. When the games are so long and you make some strategy switches, you switch from person to zone, and then you switch from one side to the other. That challenge your brain. How fast you recover, how fast you adjust to the new strategy, and sometimes it takes to us a couple minutes, and those minutes were crucial, and then we just turn it over because we just didn't adjust. I think that was a really good strategy, also because of the time to send the junk to us. It was not easy, as we it takes a little bit more time to us to score, make us do some more passes. Oh, she misread it. Then you said, "Oh God, we're down by 2. This is not gonna happen."
Yeah, so I know, I guess more so with Ozone this year. Ooh. Yeah, I think this one comes back to Caroline.
Yeah, that was
some contact on the play.
Yeah, yeah. She was trying to go across.
Right.
but
She peeled off
that's
her
one.
offender to come
Always
attempt a
risky
D.
though when
So
you have a
yeah, that's a good
player
discussion though.
essentially directly
Yeah,
at you, but not
she'd accept
ready
it.
for that contact. But it looks like we're going to have an uncontested foul call here. So Caroline Taylor will get the disc on the end zone line.
Yeah, I
Good.
apologize. I misspoke of Caroline's name, Caroline Taylor.
Oh, that was a
Nice.
score.
Oh yeah, and this is nice.
Driving a
17.
Nice.
PRS
Ride the bus spike.
after a nice first
Oh,
half.
God.
Still at 2-15 Revolution at
I'm with
17
the boss.
with
Okay.
1 minute and 25 seconds
That's
left
a
to
try.
go in this third quarter.
Yeah, I remember that was every time was like this feeling. Oh, now we're down by 3. Jeez, we were up. So that feeling during the whole time makes you, to be consistently, mentally fine. You can easily.
Might end up being an important.
Oh wow, that was
Yes,
a
this is the
photo
one.
of
Sick.
It's a fantastic.
Stays on the field for another
So you still like this sort of a game. Obviously, you still
zone look.
you still using the junk
It's gonna be a three-person cut.
as a it was a good tool. It gives you some breaks. You're still using it. We try to move a little bit faster. As I told you, then you can see that we have more wide, like a little bit more spread stack, more spread handlers motion. Then that makes you collapse a little bit more in a set line, and then we can open it. But our mistake was that we were not going around fast. So then we did not break the zone easily as it should. Like there, it should be that pass and then the next one. That's the way we were just breaking it. But that takes more passes than normal. So that gave us that make a little bit more complicated. Wow.
Oh man, I remember that play too. Marie looked like she was gonna get that. Great grab by Manuela.
Curious, Manuela Cardenas will be premiering her Vegas Magic.
Yeah, at this point you think, okay, now we're 20, 18, 17 seconds. So for us, the goal was, I mean, in any case, is try to turn it over in less than 17 seconds. That's the only chance you have to do a difference, So that's the mentality. The good thing is the time just start when the PUL is there, So we push a little bit, 12 seconds. Now that's why you see a lot of a pressure in the handlers. You see, after that time, the only goal is just to turn it over.
Yeah, it really just becomes a possession game. Like you can move it backwards as long as your team is holding on to it. There's no time limit, which is just a really strange thing. Which I guess you can always move it backwards, but it's a strange time to play defense too because you want a turnover, but you kind of always want a turnover. And if you do anything rash, if you're overcommitting to things, just like any other time, they're just going to punish you for that too.
Exactly.
So
we didn't get our goal, but we almost had part of it. We didn't get the goal, by the way. It was half of a goal. And this is the fourth quarter. So we need to explain that if we're tied until the end, then there's going to be an extra quarter. But if one team is leading, then the game's over. So at this point, it was our own 12 minutes, and we were down by 2. So our main goal was need to turn it over. We need to tie the game and go up by 1 or 2 as fast as we can. And because we knew you will come with a junkie or something that make us to be slow on our recovery, I think. So these kind of points we were trying to use that because when you came into the O line and we turned it over, you didn't set up a junkie. The junkie was more like in the D situation. So we should use a lot these kind of situations in the game.
Crawford Mosquera, Andrea Palmer Cardenas. I'm reminded of this incredible Color of Ultimate game.
And another thing we had in mind is your timeout. I felt when like a basketball player, like a basketball coach. I remember when I was playing basketball, I was like, when should I use my timeout? It's just really a strategy thing. It stops the clock, give you the possibility to change players. It's pretty useful. So you just need to yell, timeout, and then everything's gonna stop. So that was another super interesting thing. I actually remember it should be like timeout and throw something. I don't remember. It was or just actually you just
white
can go
towel
to the
or something.
Yeah, something like that. I remember that was the idea, and I remember one time I just yelled super loud. And actually, the game advisors were like, "You just can tell me. You don't need to yell. Just come to me and say it."
Yeah, next time
Okay,
just
I'm
come
sorry.
whisper it in my ear. Yeah, so in the Premier Ultimate League, you can call a timeout if you're holding the disc, or the coach can call it if their team is on offense. So sometimes the team doesn't even know it's coming, but the coach has it in mind that they want to switch out some players, and all of a sudden you just have to stop.
I didn't
But yeah,
say it's kind of
similar to other
frustrating.
sports.
It's kind of frustrating for players. There's no like timeout, and it's like, okay, what are we gonna do? You're going out. It's like, what? They just see you like, I don't think so. I don't want to go out. But it's really important.
It is frustrating because, especially as a D-line, like once you get the turn, you're so excited to play offense, and then they just take you off, so you're, fresh again for the next D point.
Yeah, and it's something that you need to work out. You need to train because it's part of a mentality of a player. You don't want day to feel. You want to feel that they're important, and then they make the D, and then you just take them out. It's like, oh, I'm playing bad, because usually players have that idea. If they put me out, it's because I'm playing bad. So trying to have that idea of no, it's just the moment. We just need fresh people. It's it's more a strategy thing. So yeah, it was
Right,
epic this game. 21-19. He's still in the lead.
One of the players when he mentioned that that game was meant to.
I remember a lot of the people after the game was just like, "What were you thinking during the game when you were down all the time?" Like, I don't know. It's like a battle, It never ends until the end. So I was just watching what I'm doing wrong. What should I just take care of myself? What I'm not committing myself. Like, it's inside fight all the time, and just be quiet. It's hard, to have this kind of experience that when it happened, 15 points. Now we're 20-21, which is a really high score. So there's a lot of emotions during the game.
Yeah, I feel like probably due to all the mental toughness training you guys do, it just does seem like nobody is ever frustrated. And even if they're tired, they don't really show it in their body language. Like you might see it a little bit in their face, but as soon as they're running, it's like they're just fresh. And I would say similar things about the Soul. Like when we played our other games and we would get down, like we would usually start the game pretty close, but then third quarter, fourth quarter get more tired, and you guys get more breaks. I do feel like the level of play still stayed high. Like it felt like a close game even when it wasn't.
Yeah, and one of the constant concepts in my head, not a constant concept, but I remember that weekend, this friend of us, Daniel, from Multiworld, he had this tricky thing that like, oh, is it Revolution gonna win? And start trying to challenge a little bit. Like, it was like thinking, oh God, are we gonna lose this game? I don't think so. I was thinking all the time, like, I don't think we're gonna lose the game, even in this pretty tough situation. Watching that we were down by 2, and not a lot of times because the time is kind of it's 9 minutes. and you feel that, oh,
learning
we
how
need
to
to
be
rush,
consistent.
but it's not true. I mean, those 9 minutes maybe are like 20 or more, but you
certainly
feel that
attacking on
you
that
feel like
front,
that, like, oh,
and
we
that's
need to
further
rush.
showcased
And
by
I was
a good
thinking all
finish
the time,
earlier
what
in that they
are we
played.
doing wrong? I'm
Very
not
even
was
line,
really
just moving
thinking. I mean, I was
every
watching what
single
you were
person on the
doing, but
rock.
it was
Catch it a
more
few
about
times,
what
but
we were doing wrong,
quietly
that we
very,
were
very
losing
vital
some
for
points
this
and we were
team.
not getting the
And
deeds
an
what we wanna
immediate
that we need
first
for that, like the breaks
possession
we need.
throw from Valeria
Oh, that was a
Cardenas
really good
to
pass. I would
Unicorn
say
bringing us
this
with a
game,
score.
Manuela and Gina,
I
they were
mean,
really good connected.
Valeria,
They made a
what
lot
can you
of
even say about her
connections
flaws?
during the game.
Not
That
to
was
mention the
fantastic.
separation created by Cartagena.
Now it's
When you
22-21.
talk about a player
Uh,
that really makes an
so now
impact for a
strategy
team,
things
look no
start to
further than
happen. You need to start to think about more.
Uh,
Every time it's going more.
so
Every
far
time the
this
games
evening,
go more to the end, you need to be
really
more.
just not had an
You need to use
answer
a little bit more
when it comes
strategy
to
and
the space,
tactics.
it
Like,
seems.
okay, how
What do you
because
feel can be
sometimes
done
you
to
started to
really limit that
get
impact that
used
she's
to
having
the
with such a
flow of a
key
game.
evolution?
It's okay, one
Seems like
point, another.
doesn't handle it.
It's like, oh,
You
you
know,
need
I
to do
think
something
we
different.
have to just give
So we need to
acknowledgement to
switch
that
the D a little bit.
foul.
We need to switch our all also,
I'll just take a second to
and
acknowledge that
now we get
beautiful
this
hand block
turnover.
Rojas with
on
a
Maria
great
Rojas.
block.
Great
Good
hand
stuff.
block.
But it's still,
Yeah, you got to keep us on
still
our
not.
toes.
Forced to punch in a short field turnover.
Yeah,
Two point
and
game.
also something is I need to say, Kayla.
I think we have to
Actually,
find a
I was
player
ready to say something
who
good
can
from here.
really
Uh,
lead us
so
such as
international players,
she's.
U.S.
I'm not
players
sure
like
that's a
Kayla,
lot of effective force against her. She can
like
just really slice it from any point.
Akina, Khalees, Claire,
So if I were a coach, I think I
they
would
were super
do what
fun,
I
and
can to find a physical
they
defender
just,
that can
they
put
just
volume
were
on her
part of
and
our
gain
team.
touches downfield
That was
and
a
in the
really good
backfield.
chemistry with them. So every single player who
Here we
get into the
see
team, they just
the
connect
disc
pretty fast.
going past Hicks.
We made it. So now it's,
But finding Marie
we still
Cartier
a little bit
in the end
far,
zone. I can't
23
believe that
to
is Maria
21.
Caribia scored their
That's
fifth point
7
of the
minutes
night.
58. I need
Just
to say
watch
something that is
this
in my mind
replay
in
here.
this part of the game.
Marissa Hicks
When
feeds
I
the
was
disc over
coaching,
to Kayla
and
Francho.
not just in this game, it used
Katie
to
Francho
happen
surveys
in
the field. She says, Marissa, thank you so much for giving me this
some other
opportunity
games,
to throw the assist. Now
um,
let me
like this.
kindly
We're close to the
give the
end,
assist and give the
we're
goal to
down
someone
by
else
one
that's
or
not
two,
you, even though you're there.
and it's
That's kind of
particularly
selfless to see, and I think it
the
is
other
clearly
teams
playing a
start to
big
feel
role in this
happy.
lead that Marisol is holding.
I need to say that. Like at some point, I know if I make one,
Atlanta
two breaks,
Soul with some
they'll
pace
frustrate
coming down the
the
goal.
other team. So it's
Revolution
not
pickup.
like being in this
Showing that
2 points
zone
ahead
Cardenas,
again.
in
yeah,
this part
third
of the game.
person.
It's really,
Hex
it's
zone.
fantastic, but you need to be careful
That's been
how
hustling
that
Revolution all
thing.
night.
I
But
mean,
as we've
how you
seen,
affect how that thing
extra
affects
turnover
you.
there.
Because if
Valeria with a
you
family
just
to pick up.
chill and relax, that can just go against. So now,
Looking
Soul
for
have
Nick
another
Stubbs.
break option
Benito Gay
after
by I believe
miscommunication.
that zone.
Uh,
Do you think that
Turnover,
would
and
look
then
Oh,
just
happen
different
again.
without that defensive look from Atlanta
heartbreak.
Soul?
I can't help but think
Yeah,
that
it's
might
true.
be. I mean,
And
we're
I need to
looking
say
at a
that this is going to
situation right
happen a
now,
lot.
conditionally,
Uh,
there is no
but
breeze.
as you can see, the junk
Weather
works
is not playing a
until
factor
we
in this game
break it
right now.
going to the other
So in
side.
terms of
Once
the
we get
ability
there,
for the players on both
um,
teams
then
to be
it's
able to just open
open
up the field with
wide
their
space.
plays, um,
Can you
a
see
zone
the
is not
collapse down
necessarily
there?
a traditionally strategically smart
So
move when
when
you're
we
in the
collapse,
moment under
there
outside
the
conditions
whole
here, but
players
it's
of
showing to
Soul
be
then
incredibly
just
effective
going
for
around.
Atlanta
Well, that was a little bit
in that they are
risky.
forcing
That was
some
not.
tight passing from Cardenas
It did,
or
yeah, it looked
Franco
like for a
to
second there were
Rojas,
like five
and
of
they
our
did a good
defenders
job of
all
slowing
within
down the pace with this zone look.
10, 20 yards of the
What do
disc,
you think?
right on that
Uh-huh.
sideline. So as soon as
Valeria
you're past
Benito
us,
right side
that's,
option.
yeah.
Claire Chastain in the area. She's gonna go up. Will she get it? Wow, a great play
That's a
from
great
Claire
goal.
Chastain over Sam
Yeah.
Hewitt for the
I will
Good
goal.
say
catch.
also something
Claire
about
Chastain working really
Purchasing.
hard downfield that point.
She scored that goal,
Valeria just
and
having
if you see Claire
not
playing Molly,
great
she
reset
used to play
options.
more
So she
handler,
decides to do what she does
and she was
best,
more
put a
committed
just
to play
crafty
cutter
throw to the break
in Revolution.
side. Claire Chastain goes up
And
strong, comes down
in
with a huge
she was
pad for
fantastic.
Revolution.
The way she adjusts. I'm
Just
actually saying like,
even the
oh Claire, you should have
slightest
just
bit of
be a
separation
cutter
is sometimes
everywhere.
all it takes to come
She's
down with a
really
play.
smart,
To the
and
soul.
she did a really good
Mascara second
plays
goal.
in the team going as a cutter. So
Disc
that
is
was
up.
one of the things that
Stovall Jones
surprised me a lot
upfield.
in this
Just another
in this season, in the 2019 season.
You
Okay,
think
now
she
we're
enjoyed cutting?
In the middle of the field, guarded by
yeah, I think it was
Cardenas.
weird at the beginning
Reset to
because
Lizzie
as
Jones.
we said, there's a lot of chemistry things
And
on
they
our
still
O
played
line. So getting into the O
not
line is
as strict of a traditional O&D
quite
line
hard.
as
It's
other
hard
teams in
for
the
new
Premier
players,
League. They actually
but
ended up playing sort of a
once they get into it,
three-line
they enjoy it. Okay, now
quad system.
that's you and
So this line, having come out a little
and
bit
Manu.
Travelina,
softened on defense,
Travellini has
Ah,
it
that's
right
fine.
now.
Yeah.
Robin
And
Fennig
further downfield, we
shooting
look very
left.
similar on
So
camera,
Feliz Cardenas
especially
has
with the
the
hats
Really?
on.
huge
I just was kind of
can't
apart.
quite
Like,
get it.
no, I remember you because I mean, you have something different in your
And
style.
I think
Remember?
right there is
Yeah,
one
I
of,
I would
typically
say,
wear a bandana.
maybe one of the more important
yeah,
parts of
yeah,
the
the
game
bandana is
that we will
definitely
see,
significant.
because incredible defensive effort
Okay,
by Revolution and the
2024 to
players on
22.
that line,
So at the
really
time,
ramping up
so
the
one of the
intensity. We
yeah, so
saw
saying
numerous
why it was
layouts
so
that were
epic and
going
good
for the
this game
disc,
is
a
because
couple
it was
that got
pretty intense
pretty
until
close to
this
extra
time.
points.
So just imagine we have been playing
How do you handle
46
this
points,
situation, especially with
uh,
such an
and
aggressive
it
crowd
takes like
rooting
2
for the
hours
other team that you're
to
playing
get
against?
there, and it's tiring,
Certainly, I think that
and
it
you
seems that
frustrate
Revolution
easily.
is staying in a pretty
That's a great
good
pass
and
from
Yep.
steady
Gina
mental
to
place. I think
Angelica
what's been
Manji.
challenging them more
Um,
is this sort of defensive look that we've seen from the Soul, slowing them down. And as a coach, I think I would
No call.
what was that?
likely
No.
tell my Revolution
Oh.
players to do what they do best and move the disc quickly through that cup, trying to find space both in it and behind it. I think that they've been successfully moving the disc laterally.
Yeah, for this game especially,
And trying to connect
for
back and throw
semifinals,
sort of cross field.
there were
They
just
may
4
or may
teams
not
here, but
connect a
being
little
the
bit
home
more
team, we
on the
definitely
crossfield
had
throw.
a lot of fans in the stadium. You can't see them because they're underneath where the camera is right now. Looks like there's just nobody over there. But it was also really cool because my parents came to watch this game.
Ah, yeah, I remember.
And it
Taylor.
was really amazing.
Certainly not
And
something that you see regularly
hopefully
from
this isn't too much to share
this type
here,
of
but
effort.
my mom actually passed away this spring unexpectedly.
Shakes.
So this was one of the last times I saw her, and it's the last time she watched me play Ultimate. And on the unedited version, sometimes they show the crowd, and you can see her sitting with my dad, which is really
Elizabeth
amazing.
Mosquera to potentially be one of the best
Oh wow, that's beautiful.
players in the world.
Yeah, I have to say that the crowd and spectators in the PUL were fantastic. Following games or in the stands or online and supporting the whole league. I've never expected. When we were thinking to create the league, I was thinking, okay, this is going to be fantastic. People will like it. But then the support was unbelievable, and still, not just was, it was still unbelievable. Uh, it's it's a really change in our ultimate community. How things are, how the league is helping to support women's ultimate. It's it's incredible. Okay,
Yeah,
now
I
we
agree.
got
I
the
think
their top players would likely stay.
if you're talking about the game, you go ahead. I have something to share. Maybe, well, there's no time between
go ahead.
points. Who are we kidding? I wanted to thank all the sponsors of the jersey sponsorship program, player sponsor program. It's really amazing to know that every player sold out, and it means that every player in the league has at least 4 people who are there supporting, wearing the jersey, and like it's just an amazing sign of support from our community that people would spend money on something like that. And so I want to thank specifically my sponsors, but also everyone who bought a jersey from that sponsorship program or from the team store. I think that's so cool, and I'm really glad that it was a successful effort.
Yeah, it was amazing. I need to say that the first time they came, like, when we talk about the sponsorship programs, they're like, that's not even possible. How are we gonna have 4 sponsors per player? This is not gonna happen. And then it was unbelievable how out we go. That was super fast, a lot of commitment. So we're really glad, and we want to say thanks to every single sponsor who sponsored every single player in the league and every single sponsor who sponsored the league. It was an insane support. That was fantastic support. That's phenomenal. Okay, now we're 24 tie, 3 minutes left. So if one team just score and steal with that advantage, it wins. It wins the game. So you need to remember at this point the games end up with the horn. So it's not like the other quarters. In the other quarters, the time goes, and then whoever has got the possession still have a possibility to score. Here, if you score and the horn sounds, that's it. So we try to do a fast goal. Didn't happen. That's one of the plays when I said Chidi was doing a really good job guarding Lisa. Really close to her. So 2 minutes 26. I know what is going to happen, but I'm not going to tell you.
Oh man. So I think there's 2 timeouts within this point, if I remember right.
Yeah, and actually, just imagine what you should think about. Like, should I just time out? Should I just go fast? Should I just you are thinking all the time, and it's just 2 minutes. So a really tough thing is, as you're defending, if you don't do something like this, then you don't have a possibility to choose what to do. So you need to talk to your players. That's an injury, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's an injury. So you don't know if you're going to take a timeout and make some strategy with your players to talk to set it down, try to spend the time. It's really complicated in your head. You need to score before 1 minute 41. So if you hold it too much, you can turn it over and lost with a score, a fast score. So in my strategy was, let's hold it. Let's hold it, and let's try to make it right at the end of the possibility to score. Try to make it in 20 seconds or something. But then steal a lot of time with the disc. It's also a risk.
Right, because this quarter will end with the buzzer. So yeah, it's not just about possession this time, it's about possession until the very end time.
And it didn't happen. So now we start to feel really nervous, because now you have that chance. And I remember I was saying to the players, particularly to Lisa, to go deep to protect the hook, and she just make a super switch, and then you get so wide open.
Oh man!
Just imagine
this right here. I wish she'd thrown that. Oh man, I was ready in the end zone.
And it's 30 seconds left. 29, 28. So at this point, that stoppage, it was like everything about strategy,
Let's switch it up. Switch it up. Yep. Timeout number 2. Here we go.
It's 25 seconds. You know what they're going to do. They're going to just score. Try to score no matter what. Make it easy. And we know who are the players who want to go to the score, by the way. So we're trying to protect that. But we're trying to push to the handler to be nervous for the throw. That was our first commitment. And that's 14 seconds. 13. You should throw it right now. It takes a little bit more time, and you pass. Then we just yell, Gina, just throw it! Make it! And that was not even close. Oh God. So we both lost the opportunity to win the game, and that puts our teams to go to the next quarter. It was
so that was over 3 minutes, I think, of just 1 point with 2 timeouts and nobody scoring.
That's true. So it's 4 minutes. Same thing.
this game
Well,
is
it's
players
important to
a
tell
lot
to
of
the
running,
people.
a lot
Now
of
you
throwing, a lot of
now
ultimate.
you need to make a
As we
decision.
come into
You need to
this
choose
overtime
if
stretch,
you're going to start
uh,
O or D.
keys,
Uh,
I think,
you will
for
say like, okay,
players,
I'm going to start O.
what are keys for the teams? What would you say is the
Depend
number
on
one
because
focus
if you
for
that means that if
Revolution?
there's another
My co-host
extra
Dave
quarter,
making a joke
now
that
you're in
then
a
turns into an
different
actual
position.
cue for a commercial.
So
To miss the opening
Right,
it's
for
kind of a
buzzer,
overtime
switch.
too.
Revolution
Yeah, it
Exactly.
switches.
coming down.
It's
Over to
hard
Hayna
to
to
know because it depends
Mosquera,
on how many time left and
finding
things like that.
number 24,
So it's 3
Santos.
minutes
Claire Chastain with the disc up
51
to
seconds.
Cartagena, who toes it in. Valeria Cardenas, lots of separation downfield, looking for a reset to Manuela. Claire Chastain
I remember
on the far side.
this game was
Revolution just
that part
moving
of the
this
game was
laterally
really
until they feel
intense,
comfortable going
and there was a lot of
downfield, or until they feel comfortable putting up
stress.
a
Let's
beautiful
say
blue
stress
blade.
because every single point
Cardenas
counts.
between
You
assists
know, it's like
to
okay, we did our first,
Valeria
we can
Cardenas
breathe.
for the win.
But then you see the
Right, like
clock,
just
and oh,
25-24 Revolution, 3 minutes and
just
18
don't
seconds
turn it
left
over.
in
Yeah.
this one.
Now, Greg
and then you see the
Philip,
clock, it's
Greg
like
running
oh,
this
that was 30
eerily
seconds.
similar to
You
one
know,
that
like
she had earlier in
you
the
expect
game
the time is over. It's
before
like
a
oh,
phenomenal break
we still have 3 minutes
for Revolution.
to play. So it's really
Definitely going to
fun
be
that
pivotal
feeling that the
as
time
we
still like
move
Able
long
to
along.
get
and
that
long and
far and be
long.
able to snap your wrist to put the disc where you want. Just such an impressive night of throwing from both teams.
A true showcase on that
True
front alone.
showcase. And India Stubbs fielding up to Mo
So we got India
McCamley.
I'm
Stubbs
actually
passing
nervous.
it to Mo
Overtime.
McCamley,
Yeah.
With the disc.
and
Looking for
that's
Francho.
Marissa Hicks throwing it to
Started by Montagna.
Katie Francho
Marie Pervier.
to Marie Perivier.
Putting up a
Pretty much
big
everybody's
hit
touched it.
to Mo
Wow.
McCamley. Wow.
To
Whoa.
Mo
For the ball.
McCamley in the end zone.
McCamley with
Nice.
a huge disc.
Yeah, that was a nice go.
Comes up just short.
So every
That was a
time you
pretty smooth
score, it's like
possession.
Block.
yes,
Marie Pervier.
I'm actually never
If
expect
we
that
had
huck,
if we had
and it's
picked
really
Mo
fun because
McCamley
every
for
single
that
time you
play,
score
she
in
would
this kind of
certainly be the
situations,
contention.
it's a
She
kind of
has
a
been such an impactful player for
okay,
us
now it's your
already.
turn. You know, you just rest a little bit
Just a
for a second.
fearless player out there for
Oh,
someone
that was
who's so
close.
Oh,
young,
that's a nice
especially like
bid
on
by
her
Kayla
speed.
Hilton. Yeah,
4-minute
very close.
overtime duration.
Sam Hill with the
See ball
pull.
number 3 go up to
So now you
Revolution.
see, we just spent 1 minute and
Cardenas
we both
fielding.
score. So it's
Caroline Taylor just getting down on that pole, causing some trouble, but Revolution
okay.
still advances with pace.
Moving quickly downfield. Nice.
Yeah.
Cardenas on the disc, finding Montagna,
Boom.
a player who had an incredible game during the Color of Ultimate game.
Yeah, that's great, Justine.
A couple of weeks ago.
I think that was
She'll
a
get the
pick.
disc back to
Yeah,
the
that's
ball
a big call.
downfield, a pick call. Chastain just a little bit too open. Disc will stay with Montagna, about 10 yards outside the end zone. Clock ticking down from that pick call. Montagna finding Cardenas.
So that's Manuela playing with
Those
Gina again.
3 players working
Marked by
together.
Yost, but oh man, just goes up line so quickly.
Cardenas scores with emphasis.
Yeah,
The good old knee
they did a
spike.
fantastic job during the game. So
We
now
are
it's
at
26 to
26
25.
for Revolution and
Now
25
it's
for the Soul.
Soul's
Over
possession.
Oh man.
That was a good
Again,
beat.
we've seen this move a few times from Revolution. Just a quick bump to that four-side space, and then it's immediate.
Yeah, Manuela was doing a really good job doing those
Super
passes and going right away.
over on the field.
And a pull from
Now
Mosquera.
we're 26-25.
Goes to the middle of the
Yeah, I
Soul
think
zone.
even in this overtime period, we're still using our line system. Like this is the line that I'm on with 3 Sams. There's a Sam Hill, a Sam Stovall Jones, and a Sammy Daughtry. Doherty. I'm sorry, I said it wrong. Sammy Doherty. And we're still like all out there playing together. You'd think maybe at this point we'd want like a more offensively minded set on offense, but like our chemistry was so good just in our line system that we kept it. There were some switches throughout. Like I said, Leah was having issues with her hamstring, so we had to fill in for her on her handler line, but it's working. There we go.
It is.
We held on our offensive point.
It's true. Yeah, so that's 26 tied. So it's that's you. So it's 26 tied. Same thing. We were thinking, okay, we cannot turn it over. That's the main goal. Just keep the disc and score, no matter what. Don't turn it over. And when you have 1 minute, you start to think about what should I do. You know, if how possible is to hold it until the end of that minute and then score, or just score and try to see what happened with the next point in the other team. So we got a call with the teams like, okay, just try to go normal and just be aware if I call low time. So if I call that, then now you need to hold it and don't score until, you know, like try to see it. So you came with this junk. Let's say it gave us a lot of opportunities to do that, to hold it, because we don't have to be under pressure. So, that was that. Was an injury? Yeah. So 48 seconds.
The clock has stopped for this injury call. There's about 50 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, this is just a replay.
Seems that
I think
okay.
Mo collides with yeah, it was Manu there.
Manu stepped on her.
Ouch.
We know.
Looks like she's okay.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe I'm just yelling, saying, okay, it's 48 seconds. Hold it. Which is actually really dangerous, you know? Because if you turn it over, you're done, you know? You give to the other team the possibility to score, beat you. So that's why we got a lot of dumb plays.
Right.
That was bad. It should go more to close to the end zone and try to do that thing there, not in our end zone. So they started dump, which is not good. Because if we lost this, then you can score easily. But if we're right in your end zone, touching, and we turn it over, you still have to make a super pass. Then we got this time out to try to set up a play. It's 18 seconds.
Making us wait for it, Gabe. 18 seconds.
Remember, every team can change the whole 7 players in that play. Every time is a timeout. We made some changes.
Yep. Yeah, it looks like we did too. Maybe. It looks like a lot of the same people, actually.
So we try to put Gina to receive the disc and then throw it to Elisa, but they took too many time. They spent a lot, and so Elisa came in. That was a turn, and we just I
send it.
I was saying, why throw it? And look this. Gina just like, it doesn't matter, and she didn't realize that play. Gina said like, oh yeah, I just like. You knew that if you don't take this, we lost the game. Like, why? Like, because the throw was released before the turn. So, actually, it was an active play. That was an active play. This, because that was 0 right there. And
she's just so casual.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna grab it. And Maddie was right there. Like, we almost lose the game in that play. No, maybe no one knew it at that point. It was like, oh God, that was pretty close. Okay, now it's 26-26, but then as we choose bad, that's what I was saying. Okay, we choose
Erynn, Schroeder.
Bad, now we're going D.
That's actually Kate Travellini,
Remember?
next to Mo.
Kate Travellini.
We started on O, so now we start on D.
This is double time. This is double overtime now, and this is sudden death.
I'm so excited.
So Soul is receiving.
Yeah. In the middle of the field.
Got Mo McCamley with the disc.
Option, but she can't find one. Resets to Seville.
Passes back to Paula Seville.
Seville finding Maddie Fry. Fennig in the deep
Robin. Fennig.
Can't find
and then to Kate Travellini.
Travellini with some emphatic fakes. Seville finding Feg.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was one of. What was intense? You were in?
This game has been
Yeah, I was like,
resets.
I don't know how coaches even
Solid.
pick which people go on, and it's always, I think it's a bummer to not be picked for a universe point line, but it was also like kind of relief. It's like, okay, just trust your teammates, they've got this. One thing I didn't know during the game, but I did talk to Kate before mentioning this. She was, so yeah, this play, oh man.
Oh gosh.
Oh man.
And I need to say, she grabbed every single pass in the game.
She is such an amazing player. I didn't know this while we were playing the game, but during the end of the season, she found out that she was pregnant. So during this game, I want to say she was like 8 weeks, and you can see like hearing that after the fact, it's like, oh god, she's scared for her baby. But I did talk to her, and she said that the wind just got knocked out of her, and she was more frustrated about not catching it. And like, of course, man, it was such a full extension layout, and to like end it kind of injured, can't breathe, and just dropped, you know, the universe point of all universe point passes. Yeah, Paula Seville is also having a baby soon, so she is not on the 2020 roster. I think that's, you know, obviously unique to the women's sports, is like having athletes who are also mothers and having to choose like the timing of all that. Oh man, here it comes.
The throw go up to the cone. Can they do it? Yina Cartagena with the goal and the win.
That was intense. I was actually thinking after the layout, I just said, well, okay, we got it. But I was really, let's say, scared when that play was made. I said, okay, that's the chance they had. And, you know, that was, I think it was part of a lot of intensity, you know. It was pretty intense. She played a really good game, and that was a pretty tough clutch. Then I think the turnover gave us a lot of positivity. You know, we were positive. We said like, okay. And that jog, I was right there in the middle of the field crying. Can you imagine that? I was like,
yeah, that's Sam Stovall-Jones.
Yeah, definitely. Sam was fantastic, and I was crying, and I said, not even. I don't even remember one of like crying in different games in my life, but this game definitely made a mark in the history, because it was not just the first time we were playing a PUL, because it was not even a final; it was a semifinal. It was more about all of these feelings between the two teams. Between Revolution and Seoul. I need to say that these two teams made a really beautiful friendship during the whole season, and we felt like a family. We felt like a one team in different places. So that was one of the best moments I have in my year, having that game in the semifinals against you.
Yep, I would agree. This was so fun to rewatch with you. So thank you for joining me, and thank you to Ultiworld for bringing us together.
Yeah, thank you very much. And yeah, that's it. And be tuned on next games, and also in the next season of a PUL. It's going to be fantastic. There's all things that are going to happen through internet, so just be aware and just be connected. Thank you very much.